So what if the viruses we usually hear about, the flu, common cold, are just the small fry?
Uh-huh.
Because researchers in Finland, they've just found what they're calling a giant virus. And we need to talk about this.
Yeah. It's
Um,
pretty fascinating stuff. We're digging into an article from the Hindu about it today.
Right. So giant, what does that actually mean in the virus world? Is it more dangerous?
Not necessarily more dangerous, no. It's more about the physical size. This
Mhm.
new one, they're calling it Jyvaskylavirus.
After the city in Finland, I assume?
Exactly, Jyvaskylavirus. It's around 200 nanometers across. Now, that sounds tiny to us, but
But compared to, say, influenza.
it's about double the size. So yeah, in viral terms, it's quite large.
Okay, double the size. And there's a proper study on this.
Oh yeah, it's published in eLife.
Yeah.
Solid research.
Good. So our mission for this deep dive is to unpack why this discovery, Jyvaskylavirus, is actually significant, especially its location, right?
Precisely. And for anyone preparing for exams like the UPSC, understanding these shifts in fundamental biology and ecology is really key. This touches on both.
Definitely something for the prelims or even main syllabus. Okay, so how did they even find this thing? You don't just stumble across a new virus, do you?
Well, sort of. They used a clever lab technique. They took environmental samples, soil, water, that kind of thing,
Okay.
and mixed them with a specific type of amoeba culture, Acanthamoeba castellani.
Ah, amoebas, they sometimes get infected by large viruses, don't they?
Exactly. They can act like bait or hosts. And sure enough, Jyvaskylavirus showed up in this amoeba culture.
Interesting. And I read Professor Lotterina Sundberg mentioned it's related to others found elsewhere.
Yeah, that's right. Related to the Marseilleviruses, which, as the name suggests, were first found way down in France.
France to Finland. That's quite a leap.
It is, and that's kind of the crux of why this is important. Before this, most giant viruses were found in, let's say, more temperate parts of Europe or South America,
But Finland is pretty far north.
very far north. So finding one there, as the Hindu article highlights, suggests these giant viruses might be, almost everywhere, in soil, in water,
Yeah.
much more widespread globally than we thought.
So it challenges our assumptions about where these things live.
Totally. And it makes you wonder about their life cycles, how they spread, what role they play. We still don't know a lot about that.
Is there any idea what they do, ecologically speaking?
Well, we have hints. For example, there are some giant viruses found up in the Arctic, different types, mind you,
Okay.
and they're known to infect algae. There's speculation they might even impact things like polar ice melt by affecting those algal blooms.
Wow. Okay. So tiny things having potentially huge environmental impacts, that's definitely relevant for environmental studies.
Absolutely. And another mind-blowing thing is their genetics.
Right. The article mentioned their DNA.
Yeah, regular viruses might have, say, 7,000 to maybe 20,000 base pairs of DNA. Simple instructions.
Okay. Sounds about right.
These giant viruses, they can have genomes up to 2.5 million base pairs.
Whoa. 2.5 million. That's enormous for a virus.
It's huge. It suggests they can do much more complex things than typical viruses. Now, Jyvaskylavirus is big, but not the record holder.
Oh, there are bigger ones.
Yep. The biggest known so far is Pandoravirus salinus, around 500 nanometers. So there's quite a range even within the giant category.
Pandora-virus. Fitting name. So much complexity packed inside.
Exactly. And researchers are hoping that by studying Jyvaskylavirus and others like it, we can start to figure out what all that genetic information is actually for. What unique biology do they have?
And Professor Sundberg hinted there might be more coming.
She did. Apparently, they detected other new giant viruses in those same Finnish environmental samples. They just haven't fully characterized them yet.
So this could just be the beginning of finding more of these northern giants.
It really seems like it. We're maybe just scratching the surface here.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. The key takeaway here, drawing from that piece in the Hindu, is that finding Jyvaskylavirus way up in Finland really suggests these giant viruses are probably much more common, more globally distributed than we ever realized.
Right. It opens up whole new questions about microbial life and ecosystem function.
And for our listeners, especially those prepping for UPSC, it's a reminder that science, particularly biology and environmental science, is constantly evolving. What we think we know about the distribution of life can change with new discoveries.
Definitely. Keep an eye on these developments.
So the final thought to leave you with, if we're finding these giant viruses in new places and hints of even more out there, What else is hiding in the microbial world? What other unexpected players might be shaping our planet?
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It really does. If you found this deep dive helpful, maybe spark some ideas for your studies, do give us a like, subscribe for more, and drop any questions in the comments.
We'd love to hear from you.
And remember, our main source for today's discussion was the Hindu.